Talking Denver soccer with the head coach of the Pios, Jamie Franks. Coach, thank you for carving out some time to talk. I know obviously time's very busy. You're getting ready for the Elite Eight match coming up this weekend, so thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
As we were just chatting before we started recording here, I was out at Charlottesville over the weekend. I got a chance to see this UMass team you'll take on up close and personal. And for me, one thing that stood out is they're just relentless. They're going to press you for 90 minutes, very unwavering belief in their principles. But I'm curious, from your perspective, what is your takeaway? What stands out to you about your upcoming opponent this weekend?
Well, I just said they play the game of probability, and they believe in soccer should be played a certain way, and they're not going to change. And for that, I have a ton of respect. There's different ways to skin a cat, and so for these guys, they play 4-4-2. They play very direct. The ball comes into your half, and then once it's in your half, it goes near your goal. So scored 50% of their goals on restarts, and the other 25% in transition. So just understanding how they're effective, and ultimately the spaces and the key players in the game.
UMass, an effective team. You're an effective program, the Denver Pioneers. What you've put together in your tenure is very impressive. You've made the NCAA tournament all but 1 year. You've got out of the first round. Almost all of those already have one College Cup appearance under your belts. I'm curious, this is such a volatile era of college athletics with the transfer portal, with conference realignment, but you've been able to consistently put together a winning program. How have you been able to do that?
Just character-based recruiting, going off our instincts and, really looking for people who want to be a part of our community here at the University of Denver, and people that, their main goal is to leave it better than they found it. And that's just not soccer. That's school, that's within their respective majors. That's within the community. And so for us, there's a lot of work ahead of time to make sure that we're bringing people in that are right for our culture and right for our performance environment.
you know, like I mentioned, you've had so many impressive standout teams. You've seen a lot of talented players come through, guys that have gone on to the ranks of the MLS. But this team in particular, and I saw your quote in the Denver Post about, you've had talented teams, but you needed steel. What stands out, maybe what differs, I think is a better way of saying it, with this team compared to other teams you've coached in past?
Yeah, I think, our run where we went undefeated for 2 seasons in a row, it hadn't happened in, 49 years. Those two teams, they did have steel. And, the reason why they were 49-2 and they're actually standing there behind me, that's our last Elite Eight win at Clemson, there was a lot of steel to those teams, but there maybe wasn't enough skill up front in some of the areas. And so for us, it's just kind of been trying to find that balance. And, I think what makes this team so unique is I don't know if I've ever had this combination of athleticism and grit with skill. And so when you combine those two, you look back at the Sweet 16 game, the first half we were incredible, dominated the game, dominated the ball, dominated the chances, had the tempo of the game. And then in the second half, we decided on a little bit of a different tactic, and, we sat a little bit deeper and we wanted to counter. And I just don't know how many teams can kind of do both. But we're comfortable doing both, and that's the way we've been built. And maybe that's because it's hard to earn home games here in Denver. Not many teams want to come play us because of our home record. We're difficult to play against. And so a lot of these like top 25 games that we are playing or have been playing over the past 10 years, they're on the road. And so when you're on the road, you kind of have to play a little bit different than when you play at home. And so some of the grit and the athleticism is based off of, some results that we've dropped where we thought, we were just maybe a step off there. So over time, we were just trying to build a team and a program that can win 6 knockout games.
What's your favorite part about coaching this year's bunch? And it can be on the pitch, it can be, off the pitch, whatever. But what's your favorite part about this team?
That one's really simple. It's just their gratitude, their ownership of their own processes. The top players are the top leaders, and those are the guys that set the example every single day. And to watch those guys be so unselfish, watch those guys, put the team above themselves. It's inspiring. You meet these they're kids, you meet them at 15, 16 years old, and you meet their parents, and it's like a baton race. You're running and they give it to you, and your job is to make them a man. And so This year has just been so fun because the connection of the team, their relationships with each other. You never know who are first or second year guys. You don't know who the seniors are. The locker room is always vibrant. The field, the training, the lifts. No matter what we're doing, the team's very very committed. So as a manager, you don't have to ask for their intensity. You don't have to ask for their commitment because the older players are really driving that.
Another one of your quotes after the win against Indiana that stood out to me was, "We think we can go win a national championship." Was there a moment during this season where it kind of clicked that, hey, we really have a shot here? Or was it coming into the season, this staff knew, yeah, the team we put together from Jump Street, we know we can go and do this?
Well, we thought that was the case last year, and then you have 3 season-ending injuries to your captains. I just never happened in all my tenure in college soccer. I've never had that many injuries to that many impactful leaders on the team, and we didn't make excuses for ourselves. We still went to the second round last year, still won 13 games, and did it in our style and did it in our brand, which is another reason why I think we're attracting a lot of players here that want to come here because we do play a certain brand. But ultimately I was just just proud of their efforts, proud of their efforts on that day.
Mm-hmm. Last match, you all set a program home attendance record. And I know Denver, the athletic department, has tweeted, let's do it again this weekend. What do you think that says, though, about the growth of not just your program, but the sport of college soccer, that so many people are now flocking to see these games?
Yeah, well, I think to understand where college soccer has kind of made some mistakes, you have to look at the way that we were grouped. We were grouped with all the other divisions. We were grouped with women's soccer, and all of those different entities want different things. And I think, just being on the committee, myself and seeing the inner workings of it, we haven't made change in so long because there's institutional things that are holding us. And I think now that the new landscape of the NCAA, there's going to be a lot of opportunity. I think some of the MLS, 2 league was supposed to kind of supplement what college soccer is, and it really didn't. College soccer has found a way to still be relevant. It's found a way to be, whatever you want to say about the MLS Next, the majority of the MLS Next kids are still coming to college. And so I totally believe in a pathway. The best 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, they will go pro. But to not really look at the other 95% of where the kids are going and be supportive of that, that was where I was like a little bit kind of taken back, because I grew up in the youth system. I'm a byproduct of USU soccer. I was on the regional teams, on youth national teams, all those things. And they've just done such a good job. Youth soccer, here in the MLS, it's getting so much better. The MLS is doing such a good job. But just to think that college soccer would be a part of that pyramid was a little bit surprising for us. And so for us, I just think in the past 5 years, we've kind of made our stamp back to be like, hey, look at us. We are relevant. We do have good players. Somebody said like, oh, the academy's job is to create, 2 pros every 4 years. And it's like, hold on. We do that. That's what we do. And so, I just think that college is such a unique time where there's so much resources. There's so much extra support that we have with different sports psychologists, nutritionists, sports psych, like actual performance doctors. We've got all these type of facilities. And so for us, how does US soccer build college soccer as part of a stepping stone? And I think that's where we're at. And the attendance for us here at Denver is so cool because half the roster comes from Colorado. And the last time we went to the College Cup, some of the guys that are on the field were ball boys during those games. And some of the ball boys, that will be there on Saturday, we hope that they want to come and be a part of Denver. I think what makes our experience so unique, and we're a little bit secluded out here, but what makes it so unique is that kids come here to grow as people, and kids come here to kind of give back to the program, and they have Denver across their chest, and that means a lot more to them than just they like the Denver Nuggets. They like all the sports teams here. And, they just take a lot of pride in our city. And so for us to be able to play a home game and to be fair, to watch all of the Sweet 16 games, the way that their attendance, there's a real appetite for college soccer. And, I wish we could change when the championship is. Like the championship should be back in May. We should not be having the kids come back to school. They just come back too early, and so like we take away their summers. And in actuality, they could be playing in the MLS 2, or they could be playing in the USL. With this new amateurs type rules. And then we could come back and we could have a regular preseason just when the kids get to campus. I think it really costs a lot of money to bring the kids back to school without school in session. You have to pay for the food, you have to pay for the housing. And so, how do we line up our season a little bit more with the academic calendar year? And then to just play 22, 24 games, over 18 weeks is just not enough. We just need to extend that. And so, there's so many different models that would make sense for the kids. But, ultimately, when college soccer was made to be truncated in a small season, they didn't have the sports information they do now. They don't have the data to do now. If you run 7 miles, you're not supposed to run then 7 miles 2 days later. And so, like, now that you have all this data, I am very, very optimistic that the right people understand. These kids go from playing 10, 11 months in MLS Next or in ECNL, and then to come here and have the season truncated, it just doesn't align and doesn't make sense. And so I'm really excited about having the ESPN have all the games on. I know some of my friends who no longer play, and they're watching those games all the time, and it's just a really cool thing. And for us, I think that there's some things that we can do institutionally, that will really help push the brand of soccer.
You mentioned the dates that the championship is played at, and that's honestly one of the biggest components of the 21st century model of college soccer that has been pitched lately. Some of the ACC schools leading that charge of, for those that don't know, essentially dividing college soccer up into 2 seasons. You have a non-conference slate in the fall, you take a winter break, and then you play your conference tournament and postseason tournament in the spring. Would that be something that you would be in support of? I'm curious, just your thoughts on the 21st century model.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I just went on my soapbox about it, but of course, I'm a component of it. You're just taking the 22 games and the extra games that we're having to play on the week, throughout the week. You're taking the student athletes from class. And so instead of having midweek games, you have no midweek games, and you play 10, 12, 14 games in the fall. And then you play that same amount, 10, 12, 14 games in the spring. And you just it's the same amount of days of practice. It's the same amount of games, but you're just stretching them out to meet it more of an academic calendar year. And it would align more with youth sports, with what they're doing in youth sports. It would align more with the soccer itself. I think it would put college soccer in a really good position to work with the MLS, because the reality of it is they should be able to send us players, and we should be able to send them players back. And there should be, more of a connection there.
Speaking of players, you have a player in Isaac Nami, your goalkeeper, that is one of the most impressive netminders in the country. I'm curious, how have you seen him grow as this season has gone on?
Just from his maturity, I think, one of the things with all of our athletes is we're in a strength-based approach. We're looking to make people build around what they're good at. And I think for him, understanding what he's good at also now lends into some of the things that maybe he's not good at, and playing within that strength. And what I've seen from that is just a real sense of maturity, a real sense of inner confidence, a real sense of resiliency. And I think, he's a difference maker. The reason why we went out and got him is because the brand of soccer that we want to play, our goalkeeper has to be a +1. They have to be a field player, or we can't play the way that we want to play. And so, for him, just to really kind of hone in on his skill set, hone in on what his strengths are. It's really made him really comfortable with, hey, this is how I can impact the game. This is how I can be reliable for my team.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, since you are in Denver, about the elevation. I know that seems like such a common question that Denver teams get asked, but for those that, you kind of have to experience it, right, to really talk about it. And how much is that an advantage for you all? Maybe not one that people talk about a lot, but how much of an advantage is it to have that elevation in your back pocket?
Yeah, I mean, when your breath starts to get tight and the brain starts to kind of take over, yeah, it's definitely an advantage for us. I think, for us, the ball moves a little bit different in altitude. So understanding that and, ultimately just understanding, the tempo and the rhythm of the game, it will be a little bit different. And so we've been phenomenal at home in a way. We've been so dominant at home that it's almost hard to get teams to come out here and play us.
I know coaches always say you take it one game at a time, but do you peep up to that other side of the bracket? Your alma mater there about to take on Ohio State. Is that in the back of your mind ever?
No, I mean, I played for Jay Vidovich, and so he's at Pitt, and so that's how we always play Pitt every year. And um, my guys will probably say this is cliche, but we play one play at a time, and that's what fighting football is. It's this idea that like the only play that matters is the one that's in front of you. And for me, it's just we have all the respect for UMass. We are absolutely not looking past them. We know that there's going to be a dogfight. We know that they're going to make us defend. My guys always say like, in this tournament, you don't have to worry about anybody except the game in front of you because right now there's 8 and on Monday there's only going to be 4. So you don't have to worry about anybody until they're in front of you.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck this weekend. The Denver Pioneers will take on UMass in the Elite Eight, a 1 p.m. kickoff on December 7th. Winner goes to the College Cup. Coach, best of luck this weekend, and thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.